welcome back to the FA Cup Watch, where today we're going to be discussing the original Lily Whites versus the shit Lily Whites, PNE versus Tottenham. Of course, it was a very expected result. You could probably already guess the result before even clicking on the video or acknowledging we played this match. But of course, the magic of the FA Cup does exist, so there was always a hope that we could potentially bring something from this game, but alas, we didn't. Because we're PNE. What do you expect? There's any team out there in the FA Cup, we are not the one to bring out the magic in the FA Cup, but it is what it is. Alrighty then, so let's go through the first, second half, and then we'll go through everything else that happened. Okay, so the first half, the atmosphere in Deepdale was absolutely bouncing. I hadn't actually seen it that way since the end of last season and Blackpool last season. It was crazy. Anyways, the first half saw us play some quality football, in my opinion, that kept Spurs at bay. Spurs showed how dangerous they are in comparison to us, but we played to our strengths really well. There was a few costly errors in places that we soon made up for, but for the most part, I'd say it was top stuff from North End to bring out our character and show Spurs that we aren't exactly easy opposition to break down, because it did take some doing in places. The second half was less fortunate, as second half FC come in full swing and dominated the second half, seeing us out of the FA Cup. And that was expected. Anyways, before we go on to the rest of it, we'll of course take a look at the match stats. So they had 13 shots in total, with 6 of them being on target. We had 5 shots with 1 on target, which is less than I'd like, of course, but it is what it is. Possession-wise, we knew Spurs were going to come in and dominate the possession, and that's what they did, so not massively upset about that. What's really just there to me really is essentially just the way things go, because you look at the stats, it doesn't tell you anything about this game. The way the game actually went is in the first half, obviously Spurs come in, you can see how fast they are, you can see how agile they are, how tall they are in comparison to us. They've got pace, they've got power, they've got height. We don't have any of that. We've just got the ability to run in front of them and snatch the ball when they slowed down, and that's what we did. And in those opportunities we could get forward, we did get forward, but when it came to the final third, nothing really happened, and that's what it's been like all season, which is a big shame, because you'd expect in a game like this you want to try and produce and just have a shot for the sake of having a shot, but we left it too long in numerous cases, and I do think that needs to be improved upon, of course. But anyways, going on to the player ratings, I don't have to talk about the table this time because it's not the league. Anyways, table ratings, I don't want to talk about Spurs because we knew they were fantastic. Woodman a 6, he keeps Son out twice in the first half, tipped a Perisic header over in the second, which I do think he could have caught maybe, but he was indecisive. I've since watched the full game back. I came off the match, came home and watched it again, just to get a better understanding of what actually happened, because I was just soaking up the atmosphere when I went. A couple of shaky moments, but little he could do about the 3 goals really. The third one, you could say, could be avoided, but not his fault. Story of 5, really, competed fairly well, stayed switched on, defending in his box. Son twisted away from him early for the second, which is very good play from Son. But I think Story came really deep in many places, actually. I saw the number 14 just floating about in the middle of the pitch in many places, but we came quite deep as it was, so don't know about a 5, maybe. I'd give them all a 6, maybe. LINDSAY a 6, quality, Spurs quality told in the end with the third goal a sucker punch against tired legs. Yeah, we got very tired in the end. For most of the game, he defended well enough, though a little bit erratic in possession. Hughes a 6, saw volley blocked in the first half. Did more good things than bad back there. The whole defence came in for praise at half-time from pundits, but it was always going to be a big ask to keep Spurs out all night. No glaring errors from the Welshman. And that's the thing, there was not really many glaring errors from many of the players, to be honest. There was a select few, but I'll talk about them individually. They weren't exactly offensive. I'd personally give Brown a 7. Like that 1v1 quality to hurt Spurs going forward. I really disagree with that, because fair enough, like charging up to a player one-on-one compared to, say, what Evans had. Brown was able to keep the ball in possession and actually move forward with it when he had 3 people trying to take the ball off him at once at one time, and that was very impressive. The way that Brown's moving the ball forward in this game, not just hoofing it forward, he's actually making the run into the space before making the decision to pass. I thought he did really, really well, and I disagree with him being a 6. I'd put him up to 7. Ledson a 7 I can agree with. Lots of graft in the middle of the park, made some important blocks, tackles, clearances throughout. Caught well in there before making way on 17 minutes. Ledson's one of those ones with the character that you need in these kind of games. Ledson, obviously, massive character, loves the club, passionate man, but sometimes that can overload his senses and it'll get to him. However, in this game, that only happened once when he tried to make a clearance, but it didn't exactly go anywhere. There was a bit of a blind guess, really, of what to do, and it just stayed on the floor, and it opened them up to have another goal, which never went to anything, thank Christ. But yeah, Ledson all game for the moments you were on the match. You were brilliant. Whiteman a 6, yeah, fair enough. Good to have him back in the team. He gave it his best alongside Ledson McCann, but was stuck very deep for large parts. Passed quickly without risk when he did get it. Sent a left-footed shot wide in the second half. Tried to charge forward with the ball a couple of times, and also pulled off a very nice nutmeg. Oh no, wait, I'm thinking of Evans. Ignore me. Whiteman, yeah, yeah, pretty good. Just overall standard shift for Whiteman, I think. McCann 7, got stuck in, did fairly well, running the hard yards and getting in Tottenham's faces. Couldn't really impact things at the other end, but the gap from midfield to attack was sizable. Yeah, McCann's another one. Keep it simple. Don't panic much, and he did that. He did really well. Did his job. Brady is 6. Yeah, I'd say maybe a 5 or a 6 for Brady. Committed and organised with his defensive duties. Wanted to see more consistent quality with his crosses, but they were hit and miss, and I agree very, very much. Kept working away down the left before replaced. That's a funny one because with Brady's one of those players with that quality with the cross and the general passing and picking out that could have amounted to something for us, but in this game it was just missing for some reason, whatever the reason is, and I think that cost us quite dearly in places, because if he could have had those crosses correctly from the corners and the free kicks and wherever else, this could have been a very different story in terms of the scoreline. But of course those crosses were absent last night, and that's a shame. But in terms of his defensive duties, he were very good. Evans an 8, easily man of the match. Had very little support up there with him, looked after the ball well, brought others into the game, got Peony up the pitch when it was extremely tough. Again, Evans another one with it, and now I can talk about the nutmeg, very nice nutmeg. Evans again, like Ledson, character all day long. That's exactly what I think of when I think of Ched Evans currently. Character, determination and grit. Not afraid to put in the hard yards and not afraid to take a smack for the team. You know, he's there. He wants to get the ball up, and he didn't have that support at times, which was a shame because he really did need it, because they left him on his own for too long. But I reckon if we could have had more support going forward for Evans, and instead of making him do all the hard work, we possibly could have seen a goal out from Evans, because he looked like he was ready for one. Cannon a 6, buzzed around and ran himself into the ground chasing lost causes, didn't see much of the ball, put himself around defenders under pressure, had a chance to slip Evans in the first half but went solo, and that really annoyed me because that could have been the difference in the first half, because it looked like a very good chance, and I can see why he wants to, back himself, but in a game like this, I know you want to prove yourself, but let's play it safe next time. But overall I think he did well enough. Woodburn a 5, brought on for the final 20, didn't have much of an effect but buzzed around, tried to get on the ball. And this is my problem with Woodburn. I know there's so many Woodburn supporters out there, but hear me out for a minute. Anyone can do the running, anyone can do the ball carrying, anyone can do all this, but if it doesn't go anywhere, then what's the point? I can run with the ball, DJ can run with the ball, Brown can run with the ball, but it's about what you do with it at the end of your shift. And Woodburn's just not got that in his final third. Not many of us do really, but Woodburn's another one that really does my head in, because he'll get so far and so far and so much quality, and it all just falls apart in the last minute. It's a shame really, but I suppose he did what he had to do. Johnson played a few passes, tried to find pockets, but the game was good as done. With DJ, I think that where DJ went wrong for me, yeah, fair enough, the passes were fine, whatnot, but when before like the last minute of extra time, or the last couple of minutes, whatever it was, he was, whenever he had the ball, he didn't come forward with it, he just sort of like ran in a circle to try and pick out a pass. He was too scared to come forward, but he eventually did start coming forward, and that's when the quality changed for me. But everything else was just a bit of a shame really. Fernandez a 5, 15 minutes off the bench, had some freshness but wasn't able to impact, and Finlay introduced right at the end. The ball broke his way in a decent position in the Tottenham half, but his touch past the defence was heavy and was cleared, and that's about it for the players. In terms of our reactions from the managers, I'm not going to talk about any of these. I'll read this though. Spurs quality shown through as you feared it may. Son's 2 goals were whatever that says. I'm not even going to try. Another pick-up follows that familiar pattern for Preston, who really could have done with at least one Delap or a Parrott. And I agree with that, because Delap's been quality recently, and if we had Delap, maybe things could have been different. I'm not too sure. Right, Ryan Lowe, immensely proud to keep a team of Tottenham's Bay for as long as we did. Lo and behold, a world-class player sends a world-class finish in. I thought we were excellent for the first half, and it's a moment of brilliance from the lad. I thought we could have dealt with the second one better, but it's a world-class finish again. And the third one is the sucker punch. I thought we could have used the ball better, but it's difficult against those kind of players. We haven't won or drawn, but I think we have a good account of ourselves. I'm proud of the players. We defended so well at times, but there wasn't enough pace and power to get up alongside Evans. I always know I'm going to get effort and commitment off the group. We've had that all season. Debatable. I will take a lot out of our game. Our defensive structure was solid as it has been. It's hard to break down top quality teams, but I have said well done to the group and we'll take a lot from it. Again, yeah, this should just be an educational experience, if anything. Low on one disappointment. We could have done a bit better in possession, but you have Son and Kulusevski and all of them closing you down. They are right at you, and you don't allow you to play. But I felt we've worked some more patterns to play to allow us to. Tactically, it worked for large parts because they couldn't get through the middle of us. Low on the fans, a big thanks to them. I thought the atmosphere was fantastic tonight, and if we can get that going forward, it will certainly help us to improve our home form, and that's what it's all about. This is what I was saying 2 weeks ago after the Norwich game, and everyone's saying we have the right to leave, we have the right to slag them off. But look at the difference. In a night like this, where fair enough you've got loads of dickheads who are turning up who don't even support the team, they're just coming for the occasion. But the support that, the noise, when it reminds you of Blackpool last season, or Middlesbrough at the end of the season where we win 4-1, it's that difference in noise and that difference in support that will get them determined to win. When we give up, they give up, and that's why it's important to back the lads. And as frustrating as they can be, we've got to stick by them, because at the end of the day, they're our team, and we're the 12th player on that lineup. We can't leave them to drown, especially in games like this. But something I was happy to see was that no one was saying anything stupid on Deepdale this time. There's been a couple of debates around Facebook and Twitter groups regarding the state of us in this match, and loads of people saying we could have done better, but I'm not being funny. Look at the opposition and how well they did. You can look at us and say we could have done better, but then you have to look at what the opposition brought and if we could have done better than what they were bringing, which is clear as day we couldn't. So moving on to the points to make, is that I think we gave a very determined display for what it's worth, but more importantly, it shows the gap between our quality, 50 grand a year, and 50 grand a week. It shows the absolute difference in quality of these players, and it makes you ask yourself, are we ready for the Premier League? We're good enough at saying let's push for the playoffs, but when we get there, we're just going to be humiliated week in and week out. There'll be games where we'll come into maybe draw or win against the bottom teams, say Forest, Southampton, Everton if they're still there, maybe a Bournemouth or two. But again, are we ready to be there? I don't think we are. We're nowhere near ready for the Premier League. And for me, Evans and Ledson were the standout players for me. Pros, we kept them at bay in the first, good pressing and incredible atmosphere, and the cons, we were out of the cup, we were dominated in the second and for the majority of the match, and the pitch invaders. Quick word on the pitch invaders, I really do not agree with pitch invasion. At the time when you're watching it happen, it's funny, and the first one that did it didn't do much, he just ran to the dugout, made a steward fall over, which was pretty funny, but after that dealt with. Don't know if it was the same lad or not, they look very similar, but another one comes running on, takes selfies with two Spurs players, and then ends up getting put in a sleeper hold by one of the stewards, which has caused a bit of stir. I think that the sleeper hold's a little bit too much, it's not exactly like this person's a terrorist level threat that's run onto the pitch like they're about to strike a bomb or stab someone. It's not, they was never going to do that. I think it might have been a bit harsher response, but at the same time, you break the law, you should know what you're in for, so that's up for debate, I guess, but I think the pitch invasions in the future need to be handled better. Like the third one at full time, when Son was doing his interview, when he finished his interview, some other lad climbed over the fence to try and get a picture with Son, but was brought down in good time this time, which was good. But yeah, let's not pitch invade, please. Those lads probably don't even come on the games regularly. They just thought, fuck it, why not? Anyways, I'm looking at my phone here because we've got a few words from Ryan Lowe about the fans last night. I thought they rallied us on right the way through. The atmosphere was brilliant. Our fans were different class. A big thank you from the players and I, because that's what we need to push on. And I agree. They need us to push on. Simple as that. Alrighty, and that is pretty much it for the breakdown of Peony versus Spurs. I do need to make a few words about transfer talk. I believe the transfer window's closed now, but we've made some changes recently. And I'm going to discuss them and hopefully get everything cleared up that might have been confusion. But yes, that's PNE versus Tottenham. Of course, very expected, but I believe if we can put in a shift like that against Bristol and back the lads like we did last night against Bristol, I think we'll see a good outcome against them. So let's not falter, shall we?